All right, so calling this meeting of the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee to order on December 18th at 4:03, I think it is. And we'll start off with a roll call and introduction of members, and I'll go first. My name is George Tolumsis. I'm the planning board representative to this committee. I'm the vice chair of this committee, and I facilitate the meetings at the behest of the chair. I'll go on to Nancy.
Nancy Hazard, a member at large. Hi, Ella, we've met before. I don't know how you're going to remember all the millions of people you're going to meet.
Hannah Rexhoffen, member at large.
You want to go around the table?
Oh, sure. Amy Kaling, Community and Economic Development Director and Planning Board Designee.
Graham Moranis, member at large. Hi, Ella.
And we'll go to the screen and Francoise, and then Jonah, then Sarah.
Yeah. Francoise Hat, public member.
Jonah Keane, public member.
Sarah Brown, City Council designee.
Very good. So we do have quorum. And Ella, welcome. Very happy to have you here. Didn't know if you wanted to say anything, Hannah, to start off with Ella, or any introduction, or we wait till we get to that?
I think we'll wait till we get
All
to
right,
that.
very good. So there's an opportunity for public comment. Seeing no members of the public, that may help with our getting through our agenda. Okay, Hannah, if members of the public show up, do you want me to go back to that, offer them an opportunity?
Can we do that at the end, or is it best practice, do you think, to pause and?
It's up to you. You're the delegate.
Do it at the end because we don't know if we have much time we have.
Yes, I
Okay.
like that.
Very good. Thank you.
That's what I was gonna say, but I felt mean, so you helped empower
All right.
Nancy.
They're
All
not
right.
here.
That's
So
right.
our next order of business is approval of a couple of minutes. The first one is October 23rd. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second? Thank you. Discussion. I will offer a couple of things. The version I got, Amy, at the very top, it says meeting agenda rather than meeting minutes. To the far right at the very top.
Oh, you are right.
And there's one other thing, I thought we had gone over this before, but going on to, it's not paginated, but item number 10, the Hope Street lot. Oh, wait. Yes, yeah, I thought we had talked about this before, but in that discussion, brief discussion, I suggested something about a statement. It's kind of neutral. Bram mentioned about housing. Jonah said he support what I said. But then there was feedback essentially coming from the city, and I think from you, Amy, that we shouldn't, as a committee, take any stance. We shouldn't make any comment. Does that ring true to people?
Yeah.
So I just want, because otherwise it seems like everyone agreed. So, but why didn't we make a comment? Okay, those are my two suggested edits. Anybody else? Last chance. Seeing none, all in, we'll have to do a roll call, and the question is all in favor with those two edits. Call myself, yes. Nancy?
Yes.
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Yes.
Same order as before, Francoise?
Yes.
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 Excellent. Now we have the minutes from November 20th. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
And discussion?
Looking in the attendance, Carol has got an X and I don't have an X, and I remember being here and I don't remember Carol being here.
All right.
You were definitely mentioned in the
And I
minutes.
think I remember that Paul was here. Of course, Hannah was she here? Or was she not here? Were you here last?
November was here.
Okay, so.
Paul, I don't remember being here.
I don't either.
All right, I will make myself a
No,
note.
I'm sorry,
to-
Michael was here. No.
Yes, Michael was here.
Michael was here. Yeah, you were here.
Michael was here in November.
I believe. so.
Yeah.
He's not checked off. He hadn't been
I'm
checked
making
off.
myself a note to go watch the video again to check the attendance that I
Very
have
good.
obviously.
Very good.
Well,
And
Hi, Carol.
And you mentioned you had added Bram and he was here and you've noted Hannah is here. Okay. Um, the only other thing I had was the version you saw most recently. At the very top, there was nothing to the right of the logo Sustainable Greenfield, where it says meeting minutes and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I do, adding it now.
Okay. I just noticed those. Yeah. Um, this is the November minutes we're voting on, Carol. And so any other further comment? Oh, yes, sorry.
For Nick Perry, who was helping with the FERCog Turner's Falls bike path, his name is spelled Nik. Could also add in the last name for clarity if it helps.
Where is that? What page?
Sorry, let me find where
Or
that was.
item?
It was Turner's Falls Road, blah blah blah.
Yep. Item
I
10.
don't the Okay, thank you. Also, thank you, Amy, for doing the notes. I truly appreciate it.
Of course, can you, his name is with a K, Nik, or Nick?
Nik.
Nik. Great, thank you.
Right. If there's no other comments, all will again do a roll call. I would say in favor of approving these minutes as amended. Carol?
Abstain?
Yes.
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Efficiency. Great. Okay. So next is new planning director, plan department director, Ella Wise. Introduction of new plan department director. Conversation with her and regarding the role of Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee, SGIC, connection between her role and SGIC, work SGIC has done on the master plan, and how SGIC can support her role and partner with her going forward in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes.
Do you want to start, Hannah?
Yes, and I will be very, very fast. Mostly because I don't know Ella what has already kind of been introduced. So we are very, very, very excited to have you on board in Greenfield. I know for many folks on the committee, myself included, having a strong master plan is wonderful in the work that many of us do with our day jobs and also here on the committee, and interfacing with your department, especially in this moment when chapters are being updated. And there's so much, especially for me, economic development work underway and other work. This is such a guiding document for us and really contains the voice of the community. So we're excited to work with you and bring you in and sort of have the plan as a jumping off point and then be able to interface with you as you come into the role. And anyone else, please feel free to jump in, because I'm certainly not the longest standing member here.
Any other comments? Nancy?
Well, I'd love to hear from Ella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Tell us everything.
Hey
Okay.
there.
Oh, am I bringing up? I hope that's not the case. I have good Wi-Fi. Let me know if it is, and I'll turn off my video. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm honored to work for Greenfield as well. So maybe a quick bio, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on my onboarding, and then we can talk about the master plan. So my name is Ella. I'm from a small town in the Hudson Valley outside of Kingston, and that's where my parents live now. And that's where I was really inspired to start a career in planning. I have my master's in city planning from UC Berkeley, and I've worked in farmland conservation. I've worked in state policy advocacy. So out in California, I worked to coordinate a statewide coalition of nonprofits spanning environmental, equity, housing, multimodal transportation groups to all come together with a unified voice to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by reducing the reliance on cars. Really enjoyed that work to bring different stakeholders to the table and find a common voice. And then I moved back to the East Coast with my husband and worked for the regional planning agency, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is like the FERCog, but out for Boston. So it helped municipalities write long-term plans and open space plans and economic development plans, and was basically like a public sector consultant. Um, then I wanted to work a little bit closer to the ground and not just write plans, but implement them, which I understand you're interested in as well. And was inspired by Mayor Wu's platform, so joined the city of Boston to help her implement her platform for really reforming the Boston Planning and Development Agency, which became the Boston Planning Department while I was there, for a more transparent, predictable, and therefore equitable planning and development process. So that brings me to today. For professional reasons, I'm really excited to return to a smaller city where really my heart is and where my interests, my professional interests are. The more I learn about Greenfield, the more I love it, and I'm sure that will continue. Love takes time. But just better understand how special it is. I've heard so much about it. One of my best friends here in Jamaica Plain, Boston, is from Greenfield. But from a like physical environment, there's so much going for it, but also the community. So I am in the process of relocating, which is a lot. I have two kids. One is 3 and one is 1. So we found a house in Northampton, and I have, to be really clear, I have 3 months where remote work has been approved. And so we are moving as quickly as possible, but we're not in Western Mass yet. So Eric has been very helpful and generous in helping my onboarding and helping during this transition. And then there'll be kind of the holiday period, and then I hope to be more in person late January, basically. So that's the current situation. So that brings me to the implementation committee. It's such a huge asset. The city of Greenfield has this. As you all know, it's unique. I think it's not actually that surprising given how much volunteer work is performed in Greenfield. To be quite honest, like based on my experience with the city of Boston, that's new to me. The amount of work that's performed by volunteers rather than staff is a huge asset and presents, so many opportunities, but it's also something new for me to navigate as staff. And so I'm interested in learning from all of you about the culture of that and how that works well and what opportunities, again, there are with so much work performed by volunteers. I understand that the implementation committee has had the mission of this committee has kind of evolved over the years, and maybe to put it more directly, there's been some debate about what exactly the mission is. So I look forward to observing and participating and getting a better understanding of that. And then, I look forward to participating as much as I can and depending on what I see, contribute, depending on, what would be most productive.
Thank you. It's a great overview of your background and current situation, Ella. Appreciate that. Had you, in your previous work, I would wonder, had working with master plans specifically been part of that?
Yes. So at MAPC, I wrote a couple master plans.
Huh?
The city of Boston doesn't actually have a master plan, but we had a variety of neighborhood plans that we worked and struggled to implement. And my role was really about how to have planning-led development. So I'm really familiar with master plans within the Massachusetts context and becoming more familiar with Greenfields and its implementation status.
And other people have thoughts or questions? Fran?
I also hail from the Mid-Hudson Valley. I know Stone Ridge well. I lived in Rosendale and Kingston and Claremont, and it's quite a lovely place. I believe there's a little planning firm on the right-hand side as you go north towards Kingston. I wonder if that's the one that you were at. But
I never worked at home. That's so funny in Rosendale. Yes. I mean, Stone Ridge is really small. It's like 3,000 people, just for everyone to get some context.
yeah, it's a beautiful place. But
It is a beautiful
yeah,
place. Yeah.
I
They don't have a
really-
lot of municipal planners in the Hudson Valley, though. The Massachusetts policy context is much stronger, I think, at the municipal level and for planners and at the regional planning level. They have counties, so there's planners at the county level, but not at the regional or really local level as much.
I was on a planning group in Claremont, the tiny little place in Columbia County.
Okay.
That was very, very small now. Anyway, I really look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Likewise.
I had one, don't mean to put you on the spot, Ella, but I know that there had been the issue of your direct participation or representational participation on this committee. You may know some of the history of this from Eric. Eric used to at times sit on this committee directly. And actually, during a lot of that, Amy attended these meetings as a non-member. And then about a year, huh? Was that?
I said, that's just how much I like you, Jordan.
Wasn't thinking personally, but so about a year plus ago, Eric had delegated Amy to be the planning department rep. And so I didn't know if that was something that's kind of, there's some expectation from, the city to not have dual representation here or something. But I wondered in the short run, if you were thinking of attending these meetings yourself just to get a feel for things, or before you kind of come to a conclusion about how that was going to work.
I think that was well said. Yeah, I plan to attend and not make any decisions, and then I'll consult with Amy probably, and we'll figure out best next steps.
Thank you. Other comments, questions, welcoming statements? Carol.
I mean, I know we already met and I'm super excited that you're on board, Ella. I'm very much looking forward to working with you. And I am really excited about boosting our sustainability efforts with your fabulous background. And so I'm just going on the record with that.
Nice.
Give me a ring when you're in town. Either
you.
town, because we both now will be
yeah.
living in Northampton.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And I'll just add again, Ella, that just hearing your background and your professional priorities really resonates, and experience really seems to resonate so much with the spirit of this. Again, it's a sustainable master plan, not by accident. And so it just was very heartened to hear that from your accounting of your background and perspectives. It's great.
I'll ditto that. I'm sure everyone will.
Very good. And I didn't know if you were planning to sit in on more of this meeting, or if you're headed up at.
I do have to leave at 5. It was my understanding that it would be adjourned by 5, but if that's not the case, unfortunately, we'll have to bow out at that point. But until then, I'm here.
We go for an hour and a half, 4 to 5:30. So thank you for that heads up. Okay, moving on. And before we move on, I just wanted to recognize Carol has joined, and you obviously know everybody here and Ella, but just for the recording, if you could introduce yourself to the public.
So I'm the Energy and Sustainability Director for the City of Greenfield. My name's Carol.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is, fittingly, related to Eric, the departing. This is actually he's now done, about I think at 5
He's
o'clock.
gone.
Where's the whiskey?
He was talking about, I'll share that he was talking about during the lunch of one thing. He has this rocket he was going to set off at some point.
Big rocket.
Oh,
Yeah, and I said to him, why don't you do that in your last day from the parking lot outside the planning? But it's too late. Anyway.
They're not for public. They need to be.
Yeah, no, I know.
Distanced.
Yeah.
That was a joke. But this is the interview report, and this is an update from Bram regarding your meeting, kind of an exit interview, if you call it, with Eric a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
right?
Um,
Then we have 5 minutes of this just to point
I'll
out.
be real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned last meeting that he was retiring because I'm new to the committee too. I'm not really cooked into stuff. And I immediately called him because I haven't had a chance since I joined the committee to meet with him. And just wanted to get a sense of what the plan was for him, how it changed over time, and what he might make of some of the initiatives that I was bringing about working with the database and making the plan more of an interactive and live document than perhaps it might be for folks who can't read PDFs and download things. Nancy was wonderful coming in with me, giving me that sort of
Thank you for including me.
grounding in the history. And Eric was wonderful to talk to. She shared so much, and we just really connected well. And he shared a couple of documents, which I've shared through Amy with the committee. To me, the biggest challenge in trying to imagine how we might update the plan is that I didn't see any records being kept of what was done and what wasn't done in the plan, like a table where you'd say, done, in process, not done. And at least in Eric's case, he had that. He had a lovely sheet keeping track of all those things. And so now we have a model of what to bring to whoever the directors or leaders are for the other chapters in Greenfield to get to a place where this is, where we know that. Because just briefly, if you're planning a trip to the shopping center, you want to know how much money do you have, what do you need to buy, where is it located? If you never then go and look at the cart and compare that with the list, it's hard to plan your next shopping trip. So we really do need to find ways to update things. Eric said that the master plan work was the height of his career here, and that there's just so many huge things that happened in Greenfield that would not have happened without the plan. I had them written down on a piece of paper that I didn't bring with me, but it made me feel that much more grateful to be a part of this committee and to try to further the work in some way. And I saw so much more value for the committee in checking the status of the plan and bringing that initial document to bear on any new work that we might do. He feels that it's still quite active, still running a lot of the work that we do in the town, and not at all 10 years old and time to retire.
I'll add one thing, that in his dream world, I guess, he would have had the entire master plan updated at one time, as it historically can be done. But the 10-year thing, it's an unfunded mandate. So finding the funds to do that. So here we are, updating chapter by chapter. So, and by the way, I do have some Excel spreadsheets beyond the land use of the other chapters that have information about whether they were done or not. Not up to date, but at least more up to date than when they were first created.
Take whatever you have.
Well, thank you very much, Bram and Nancy, for talking with him. It's wonderful. It's great. It's heartening to hear him talk about that being a highlight. I know he's spoken very strongly and positively about the master planning process and about this committee's work, but that's fantastic to hear. And to get the carryover of all this accumulated data and work he had stored. So that's fantastic. And thank you for sharing it with the committee. Any further comments or questions about that meeting? Or all right. And I did. I was adding up all the agenda items planned amount, and I think it comes to an hour and 43 minutes. So I want to keep us going.
The math was over, but I trust we can move.
There were a lot of things coming in, I know. Okay, so the next is master plan updates from the planning board discussion from me as the planning board rep around adopting revised chapters of the master plan, discussing how to disseminate the new chapters to the public, and recommendations to the planning board regarding the same. Now, this is to be followed by an update from the subcommittee who was working on the event plan. I will just share from the notes I took when the planning board was hearing about the feedback so far from this committee, that they hadn't, Airtable was not a familiar concept, but they had no concerns about that and sounded like a reasonable thing. They did say, as far as the public event, they would want some planning board members included, not surprisingly. As far as the suggestion from this committee to sending a memo or email to city staff with a link to online updated chapters, they wondered about that being kind of a recurrent thing, not just with the reveal of these new chapters.
Can you say that sentence again?
Yeah, so one of our recommendations was send memo or email to city staff, like department heads, the link to the online updated chapters, and wonder if there might be some form of recurrent refreshing, connecting with department heads. And as far as the annual report, obviously that's this committee's mandate, but they wondered about if that should be shared not just with the mayor as required, but with the council, city council as well, just a suggestion. And they were interested in hearing from us suggestions about doing the presentation to the council, both the new chapters and putting it in the context of the original master plan. So that's the feedback between these two committees that I got from the planning board. Any comments or questions? I see Jonah, and then Joe.
Just to clarify, the representation from the planning board for the public engagement, is that you joined that subcommittee? Is that you, or are they interested in having others as well?
Probably it was members plural. So I think when we have the actual public event, I'm talking about having, not maybe the entire planning board, but having some planning board members included there. So
right.
Probably
Gotcha.
Doesn't need to be said, but just want to pass it along.
Yep.
Carol.
I guess can I ask some questions first? This is the 2 chapters that were updated. Was that last April they were finished up?
Well, they were just fairly recently finished up as far as the planning board voting on, making final edits and voting on.
Okay. Because what I remember from when they were before this committee, that there were, we went through them as a committee, and of course, time was brief because the goal was to get them published as soon as possible. And here we are quite a bit later. I feel like there was more opportunity to flesh them out. And I just wanted to maybe introduce that now that we have a new planning director with a very deep breadth of knowledge and experience, that since they're not out yet, that I would say that it might make sense to pause for a moment and get Ella's input and then do a outreach campaign and make sure, because one of the things that to me is that the more information we can provide people to help them, that's actual expert information on the chapters, the more effective they're going to be, is what I feel. And I know that again, there was the time frame and trying to get these done, but since we're here, I would just like to revisit that.
I'll call myself to ask a clarifying question. When you say they could have been fleshed out, are you talking, Carol, about pausing and trying to, you're talking about the table for the 2 chapters, the strategy, goals, strategies, and implementation actions. Are you talking about, now that's been voted on at this point by the planning board to approve it as the 2 new chapters? Are you suggesting adding or adjusting that content and then?
Possibly.
Okay, that's kind of what you're talking about.
I'm talking about, I think that we're very privileged that we have someone new here who brings a wealth of knowledge in these topics, which was kind of lacking a little bit, I would say. I mean, we all worked really hard on it, but none of us have that background. So I would feel like it would be a great opportunity to just, and again, I'm not trying to put anything on your plate. I know your plate's going to be very full, but if I were you and I was coming into a new position, I would really want to have my, I would want to be on board and at least viewing what was about to be put out. And again, I do feel like your input is incredibly valuable. And that's why we're so happy to have you.
So I'll just reflect that that would mean a significant change of the process because it would be continued exploration of the content of those two new chapters, the tables from them, not the narrative, I assume. And then this being recommended, those changes being recommended this committee to the planning board, and then the planning board re-voting, going through those recommendations to decide if the planning board wants to accept them because it's a planning board document officially. And so we're talking about a significant change of time frame. What we're talking about now. I'm just clarifying. This is a discussion we hadn't had. Just clarifying what you're proposing. Yes, go.
Well, if I'm not, I didn't have time to review it and I just don't have time. But I believe that when we all voted on this like 18 months ago, it was supposed to be published within a few months, that it was going to the planning board. It was going to be reviewed there. I mean, it doesn't seem like, I know that time has always been the reason that we're rushing this through, but honestly, I don't see how it can extend the timeline that much. And again, maybe Ella doesn't, I'm not trying to make sure we're putting out stuff that we can all feel is great.
So Ella, if you wish to comment on that, you're welcome to. And I wanted to ask other committee members to weigh in.
Yeah, I
Anyone?
appreciate that comment and sentiment, Carol. I guess I have a couple questions. What was the delay? Why was there a delay since April?
I can't remember all the steps, but I know when it came to the planning board, we had to go through the two chapter, the tables line by line, word by word, and the vast majority. I mean, it had gone through multiple steps of a subcommittee of this committee going through it, but the planning board owning it as their document went through, and the vast majority of it we accepted as it was presented. But there were substantive and significant changes made. There were errors eliminated. There were duplications eliminated. So it's like any human process, there's going to be errors. And so we were trying to be the final arbiter. So we took some time to go through it carefully. And so that stretched things out a bit.
And from the committee's perspective, is there work that would be, what is the cost of waiting? Both monetarily, but also is there work that would be delayed that from potential pause in the process?
Bram had to subtly put up his fingers, and then I'll call on you.
Yeah, because the new chapters have a goals, strategy, action structure like the original plan does, but that they aren't actually indexed to any of the goals or strategies of the original plan. There isn't a way to overtly integrate it into the original plan. You could wipe the, for example, land use section and then put these in their place, but then you lose all these stuff that's in the land use section now, which Eric said is all quite valid still, and the things that aren't taken care of need to be. So what I envision is creating a sort of interface, like a clutch, you might say, of a couple of new spreadsheet columns or database fields that cross-reference, crosswalk the keys for the new chapter with the keys of the master plan, so that one could then say, okay, for this particular goal, this particular strategy, here are the things that are coming in from the old plan, here are the related ones from the new, and be able to sort of integrate that, not repeating, right? So that we have to ask, was this thing already in the plan, or is this a new thing? Is this reifying something that's in the plan that wasn't done? And I think if if we worked on that, we wouldn't have to actually touch any of the work that's in the new chapters now. We would just be, doing Gomorrah, commentary on it, but making that commentary in such a way that it integrates with the regular plan. And that's stuff that would make sense and have you look at.
Before I get to you, Jonah, or Hannah, then Jonah, are you speaking to Carol's point about changing the content of the two current chapters the planning board has ordered on?
I'm speaking to her point in the sense of there's valuable work that the committee and Ella could do that would make the new chapters more useful, more accessible to those people who care for the old plan, without actually having to touch the content that's already been voted on, which isn't exactly what Carol was saying.
Yes, that's what I was trying to clarify.
A counter or amendment proposal.
Okay. Hannah and then Jonah?
Thank you. And I agree with that step. I think it kind of coalesces the two in a way that's very helpful. And I would also just say timeline wise, and this might be something you've talked about already with Amy and or Eric. We are hoping to find funding to update the economic development chapter. And so my only concern with sort of flat out revisiting the two new chapters as opposed to moving them forward in some way is that then if we did find funding to update the economic development chapter, we would be in a sort of split focus, whole new chapter process along with a reviewing of two chapters that have already been approved. And so I wonder if moving forward, the way Bram is describing and making sure that we know how the two new chapters are going to interface with and carry forward with the plan, which will inform the process of updating the economic development chapter, seems a little more wheels spinning in the right direction to me than sort of stepping back and stepping forward.
Jonah?
Yeah, I think it's a complicated question. I agree with everybody here, with Carol and Bram. Like everyone's making good points. Just to clarify, I think at this point it's gone through the full process. So there was public input. It went through our committee's review and through the planning department's approval. So it's actually the same. It is officially a part of our master plan. So I think the main step would be is if we delayed. This next agenda item is talking about the public engagement around it. I think the main step would be, do we want to delay that, which could make sense, and have Ella review it prior to a bigger push, but and then we could maybe after Ella reviews it, we could decide if it makes sense, if she thinks there's more work that's needed. But at this point, it is the same as the rest of the master plan chapters. It's an approved part of the master plan. So we should be working off of that. And any time is passing, that's the driving force right now, is since it's approved, it's the approved plan. So I think the question's around how much we engage the public around it before or if other changes are made.
Nancy?
Yeah, I was the first time I heard this idea from Bram of looking at the old one, it surprised me because my understanding was that in writing the update of the, let's say I'm just going to take land use, what could be both of them, is the goal was that new chapter was replacing the old chapter. And that in the process of, and if you look at the table that Mary Chickwin created, she notes whether this is a new goal or whether it's a goal that was in the past. So I guess I had made the assumption, not being the person to create the table, but I was under the assumption that she had looked at the old table and that those things that things didn't get lost. And I could be wrong about that. I guess that's one thing. The other thing I would say is that we've always said that the master plan is a living document. And so that things change over time. Like all of a sudden we have a new president, things have changed. And that will affect things. And so that that the master plan is not something that you can't deviate from, or that you can't create some new thing that you want to do within that framework. So I'm feeling like, it has some flexibility. So I don't feel quite so, um, desirous of saying, oh, you can't use, but I think, yeah, it's true that it was a rushed project because we had to fit into the time frame of one semester that the students had. And so, in that respect, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some things that didn't get in there. And I remember myself at the end struggling to get a few things in that I wanted in that hadn't gotten in. And it was hard to get them in. I had to ask in multiple meetings. So, but then looking at the thing that it's a living document, maybe those things can get added without having to start all over again.
I'll call on myself. From the Carol's,
Is it possible for me to just clarify? Because this whole discussion, I don't think is really where I was going.
okay,
I thought it might be good to let Ella review what it is. And then, she may be like, this is perfect, great, I'm happy to have this. But there's an opportunity. So talking about anything further along, it's not necessarily going to add any time on to the timeline. And even if it does, I'm thinking it's going to be a very brief period of time, not we're starting completely over. And that's all I wanted to just clarify.
thank you. From my perspective, I would think we've gone through this process and it certainly included a lot of involvement from Ella's predecessor. And I think, as Nancy's saying, it's a living process, living document, and nothing's written in stone. But I think we have those chapters. It can be revoted by the planning board. It's not disseminated yet. So the planning board can say, oh, we're going to make some changes and revote. But my recommendation would be to go forward with the content. It's guaranteed to be imperfect and incomplete. But the other issue I wanted to bring up is one that came to the fore when I spoke with Bram after the meeting with Eric. And this is kind of what you're talking about, Nancy, as well, about new things versus things were carried over. During the planning board's discussion, at some point, I asked the fundamental question: are these new chapters supplanting the previous chapters, or are they supplementing? And the decision or the perspective was it was supplanting. It was taking the place of the other chapters. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's what Eric said as well. Mm-hmm. But I may have misremembered that, but I thought that was his point of view. But it would be, I think, important if this committee wants to recommend that the planning board reconsider that. Mm-hmm. and that there's benefit to doing this kind of integration process that Brown's referencing. I think that would be an important thing. That wouldn't involve changes to the current chapters, but would just kind of integrate it with the existing two chapters. Complicated as that is, so I'll throw that out there. Yes.
I have a question, and I'm trying to remember who worked directly with the students. I think it was Nancy and Jonah and Mary.
And Eric.
Here, and Eric. So my question is I assumed that part of the process of the students' work was looking at the public input, looking at the existing chapters, and writing new chapters that somehow did a little bit of that integration. Right? So in that case, the resulting chapters would have captured the parts of the plan that still felt relevant to the public.
That was my understanding.
Right?
Well, that was my understanding. I don't know.
Jonah, is that your understanding?
That was my understanding as well, although to the point that's been mentioned before, it was a relatively quick process for the students, and they were students. So maybe it wasn't done perfectly, but that was the intent.
That was the intent. So that makes me feel that, to Carol's point, what can be especially helpful at this juncture on levels is a review of both, somewhat with an indexing mind, but also somewhat to see how we went from the older chapters to the newer chapters, and did we capture everything that the public, this committee, the planning board, and the incoming planning director feel should have remained? Because that is, I think, an important review, and I don't know if that necessarily changes the new chapters, but it might just mean that how we use the old and the new is a little bit up for the incoming planning director's discretion, which I think it would be anyway,
Right.
but maybe I'm wrong.
So here's just one sort of very concrete thing. The old plan had chapters. The new plan has the same chapters. The old plan had goals. The new plan does not have the same goals. So one would have to ask, should the goals be changed? Were the old goals taken care of? We don't have them anymore. And when I spoke to Eric 2 days ago, he said, no, we should do the integration process that I described once we articulated it. I would just be sad if, the public had agreed on the goals of the old plan, and then because of the work of a half of a year of students who, to my mind, hadn't really seen that integration as part of their project or had the time to, given whatever they had to do, that we would lose that. Strategy, each of the goals has strategies. Like, those are still viable strategies. Eric still feels that the plan is, in the main and, in force. So what I could see us doing is, if the students have cast something as a goal that to a planner is clearly a strategy, we don't have to change it, but we can feed it into the data representation of the plan as a strategy. This is, they say it's goal 1.2. Oh, that really looks like strategy 1.3.8. Let's just put that there. That's my thought.
Ella?
Really appreciate all this and want to loop back to Jonah's original comment that it's been adopted by the planning board. And so what seems to be up for debate is how it's presented. I wonder, my understanding from Eric was that the update, which I have reviewed, I haven't reviewed with a fine-tooth comb and like a red marker, but I've reviewed. He summarized that it's basically things were added. Very few things were removed. I wonder if the next steps could be I meet with Bram and anyone else who wants to be included, review I personally, but then also with Bram, kind of discuss the master plan update, the 2 chapters, and come up with recommendations for this committee for integration and how to present to the public. I think that based on what Eric said, that it is really just an addition. It seems like the presentation to the public can be an opportunity for prioritization, which I feel like is most helpful in master plan implementation, is not only that it's a catch-all, but really that it's a work plan, which is all about prioritization. So I feel like we could think creatively about how do we present this to the public, not just in a one-way communication, but also in a two-way communication so that it helps me as staff and potentially this committee focus on things. Does that sound like appropriate next steps?
Any response? Sounds good to me. The only comment I would make as the planning board rep is that obviously the planning board had, to this point, thought of it as replacing. I think this discussion is helpful in the sense of reconsidering that decision. It wasn't exactly a vote, but it was an understanding. And I think that, this committee saying, hey, Eric is going out was emphasizing, not losing what we have from the original chapters. How about integrating these? And the planning board, because the first Thursday when we usually meet falls on January 1st, we're not meeting until the 19th. So I could, present this to the planning board as if that is the consensus here amongst the committee, that we want to try to not lose the original 2 chapters and try to somehow integrate that. If I'm not hearing any objection to that, I could suggest that to the board, and so they give that endorsement of that because it's the planning board document.
Tiniest little addition. The narratives of the new chapters could replace the narratives of the old, without the implementation tables and actions having to replace the implementation chapters there with the field. Does that make sense?
I don't know, but I don't know why you'd get rid of the previous narrative, but you could.
Well, no, I'm just saying, if you made that choice,
Yeah.
you could still
Yep.
preserve the checklist going to the store aspect of the plan.
Gotcha. And just to clarify, because the history's been, different perspectives, my understanding was the students first came up with the narrative chapter, had not had a table of actions. Is that correct? Did the students participate in creating that?
We asked them to make a table and they didn't have the time to do it.
Okay.
And Mary took that task on.
So just want to make clear, that was something that came from this committee, subcommittee of this committee, and then this committee itself, that didn't come from the students, as it turned out. So I just want people to understand the history of it, the background. Okay. So Hannah, yeah, can you wrap up this item for us?
Yes, I'll wrap up by saying I agree with Ella. And also similarly to the meeting with Eric, I think it would be great to have someone accompany Graham in meeting with Ella, who has a knowledge ideally of the student process and especially of the plan as a whole, like Nancy.
Like that. All told now.
Or Jonah, but I want to continue to maintain a sort of check and balance around the just huge bank of knowledge as we're doing it so that we can make sure we're integrating as efficiently and informedly as we can.
Okay. Thank you for wrapping us up. It sounds like that. If there's no further comment, we'll move on. We're way past time, but hey, we're doing good work. So the next item is the events, SGIZ Event Planning Subcommittee, and that's to Jonah.
Yeah, so a group of us met to discuss the public engagement around both these two new chapters, as well as what the Open Space Task Force is working on. We talked through what the goals were for both SGIC and Open Space. And we had three different goals. The first one, actually similar to what Ella just said, is sharing the new chapters and also gathering input from the community around prioritization of those new action items. So that was the SGIC planning department goal of public engagement. And then the Open Space had two different goals, one around sharing our new conservation priorities map draft. And that's actually to get input on since that is still a draft, to get public engagement and input on the actual document. And then also land management input from the community, particularly around Griswold, which is having its management plan redone. That third one we decided was too much to include, but we thought having a joint public engagement session made sense with those first two goals. So the goal being share the new chapters, engage the public on prioritization and any other input they may have, but not on changing them. And then the second being the map, the conservation map sharing and getting input on those. That's what we came to agreement on. We thought March might be a good time for that we would reconvene in January as a subcommittee to discuss, and that we would just share it with SGIC and Open Space Task Force with our meetings this month. I don't know, George, if you want to, or Nancy, you want to add anything on that? Or if others have
Nothing
any-
particularly, and I think you summed it up accurately. And before we move on, just a point of information for Ella. The creation of an open space committee had been a recommendation of the master plan. Several mayors had declined to initiate that. So this committee formed a subcommittee called the Open Space Task Force. And it includes a subgroup of this committee plus some public members. So I just wanted to let you know what that was a reference to. Yes, Nancy.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I would just add is that we looked at, when we were thinking about the two chapters, we realized how much of the NHC, natural, historic, cultural thing, how much nature was in that chapter that pertained to the land use. So it seemed like they could be integrated. There were a few things that didn't neatly fit into, you know, how you would do it in one meeting. And then I guess the other thing is just, we did talk a little bit about possible format. I put a couple of ideas on the table about who would be involved, how it would flow.
Any other folks who weren't part of that have any reaction about the structure of the public event or the timing? Any thoughts? Tacit agreement? Okay. Very good. Thank you, Jonah. I guess we can move on. And our next item is climate leader communities, discussion with Counselor Laura Wondolowski regarding the Climate Leader Communities Program, including requirements, benefits, and steps that Greenfield could explore in order to apply for the program. We had 15 minutes slotted for this. We're running late. I have just about 5 o'clock now, so maybe we can do it a little quicker, but just wanted to, hey there. Wanted to invite you to come up to pull the chair up so the mic can hear you for the public.
Sit next to Hannah.
Oh, great. Welcome.
Yeah, I'll just say a few things of why I invited Laura to come. I sent around a news article a couple of weeks ago about Ashfield getting over $800,000 to do their PV. And I've always been interested in that was enabled through the Climate Leader partnership that we're talking about. And then I discovered that Laura has been working on moving it forward. So we met. And so thank you, Laura, for coming and sharing your thoughts about the whole thing, where we are at this point, and what more needs to be done.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me and the opportunity. So Carol's more of an expert than I am, but so I'm in the city council for those who don't know that. And climate is something really important to me and near and dear to my heart. So it's been a priority my entire career. And given that Greenfield was one of the first green communities, if not the first, I've heard Mayor Martin say that we were the first green community. I don't know if that was actual or the second green community.
We were number one.
Were we?
We were. In fact, the state put off the announcement so that we wouldn't be the only one. Remember that?
I do. The story, we were in the first group. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were an early green community, and the 2021 climate law set up the Climate Leader program to update from green communities, which green communities, we've got like a solar trash compactor. Woohoo! So like, what's the next level? And really the next level is looking at greenhouse gas emissions, getting to 0 by 2050, and not just focus on the energy picture, but also like, what are the things that we can do that get us the reductions in carbonization. So I went to a Mass Municipal Association meeting, and after that met with folks in East Hampton, because East Hampton was an early climate leader adopter. The person who was the Carol equivalent has since left, but we sat down and she went through with me, like, what are all the things that we need to do? So the first thing that East Hampton did was they declared a climate emergency. They did a declaration, which we did. And they felt like that gave them a little juice within the city hall to say, like, hey, this is really important. And then they had something to point to. So every time there was like a little hiccup, it's like, we declared a state of emergency, so we've got to act like there's a state of emergency, and that means doing these things. So Carol, myself, and John Garrett from the City Council met last summer to also talk about Climate Leader. So I got a little bit of a sense from Carol, like where we are, and where we need to go to make this happen. So, the first thing is you have to be a green community in good standing. So I believe we are. The second thing that you need to do is have a committee. And so Carol and I talked about this. I've talked to Graham about a little bit about it, Graham, and as well as Nancy, like, is the SGIC the perfect committee that could be the climate committee? And they've got some requirements, but it all looks like it's that, like you're doing the work already. So why not just have this group be considered the group? And I can forward this to everybody so you can see what the requirements are. We have to make a commitment that we will be, carbon neutral by 2050. I don't know among our various different documents if we've already made that declaration or that goal, or if it's how to do that. So that's the third thing. We need to have, so that's the municipal decarbonization commitment. You need a decarbonization roadmap. When Carol and I met, and Carol, maybe I don't want to misspeak, but it felt like the municipal net zero operations plan probably does the job. Maybe there's a few tweaks that are missing in here that we need to add to it. We need a zero emission first policy. So that has been already introduced as an ordinance. It's just sitting in our ordinances committee. They have been reviewing all of the ordinances in Greenfield this year for updates. So there's a little bit of a backlog. And the last thing that we have to do is implement the stretch code. So there's a specialized stretch code that's an update of the previous stretch code designed to ensure new construction that is consistent with 2050 net zero goals, primarily through energy efficiency, reducing heating loads, and electrification. I'll say this out loud. I think that's the harder stretch. I know our friends in Deerfield got shot down at town meeting just about a month or two ago. And I know Emily Gaylord, who was one of the people leading that charge. So I'm going to talk to her to learn from her, like what happened. But it's also hard to get that many town members and they lost only by like 2 votes, I think, something like that. So if we become a climate leader, the great things, there's $150,000 available for technical assistance. And that can help us with some of these pieces. So I know that East Hampton used it to put together their decarbonization roadmap. And then once we became a climate leader, there is up to $1 million available for project funds. So that's what Nancy was mentioning with the $800,000 from Ashfield. So since we were the first green community, I'm competitive. And when I was like, Ashfield did it, like, come on, you can do this. So there are many members of the council who really care about this. So you have people who will help make this happen, at least from the council level. We know that there should be also some public outreach and Nancy and I talked a little bit about some of that around the stretch code and just public education. Because it would be easy for people to like, oh my gosh, we're never going to be able to build another building in Greenfield and you want housing and now you won't be able to build any housing. So, we have to make sure that people understand what that entails. But we also have a ban in hooking up any new natural gas. So like electrification is not that hard. So
Thank you, Laura. Is that,
that's everything.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I'd love to work with you all to make this happen.
thank you for the presentation and the offer to share some of the materials you were saying with us. Is there something you were looking for from this committee or just wanted to get us in the loop or?
No, Nancy asked me to come and present to you all,
Yes.
and let you know what this entails. And I think the step is for you to figure out, like, does this committee want to be
Gotcha.
the climate committee or whatever we want to call it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. When the city became a green community, Green and Greenfield played that role because they needed a committee at that time as well. But I think now that this committee has been formed, this committee is more appropriate. There's more people on the committee that, yeah, are more directly chair. Well, that's not true. But anyway, this is a more official committee. The other ones, an NGO serve. So I think it'd be great if this committee took it on.
Good. And this is the stuff you want disseminated to all of us. So I don't know if, right? This-
Yeah,
this-
and that's
Thank you.
like literally off the state's website, so.
Do you have an
Maybe-
electronic thing you want to just send to us? that we
Yeah, I can send it to you.
everybody?
Everybody best to send it to you,
Yeah,
Nancy.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I can download that, so.
Thanks. Any comments or questions? Members of the committee?
I presume we'd be taking this up at a later meeting date.
I think Jonah had his hand up.
Yeah. Jonah.
This sounds amazing. I guess my question would be around the expectations of the committee, what exactly their role would be, and maybe if it's substantial, and since our meetings, as we're seeing, are already full, that potentially a task force could be another option that we create as a subcommittee of SGIC. Could be something else we consider, but it would be helpful to learn a little bit more, and maybe we could talk to another community just to have a better understanding of what the expectations are of that group.
Well, I think that's in these materials that Laura's
Okay,
disseminating to us. So
great.
It may be surprising, but I actually know about this and we have talked about it here before. And, this may be the path that's being chosen to move forward, but I've already worked very hard on many of these pieces. There's a lot more than a solar compactor. And
I'm sorry, I didn't.
no, well, I'm not even being acknowledged, and I've worked here for 15 years to achieve 30% municipal savings and to not even be acknowledged that I'm sitting at the table. And, I know that Nancy chooses to do her things the way she wants to do them. This is a long process. There's a lot going on. We've discussed it at length. There also is a fleet replacement policy that needs to be done. I'm on the final steps of that. I've worked very hard on that. And I really feel like had I at least been consulted, instead of this being put on the agenda, I wasn't even made aware. And so obviously that, it's setting a tone. And I know I just don't get enough done as a one-person department who's constantly working on many, many things. I apologize if this is the wrong way to go about this, but I was prepared for this, but really not the way that it's going. I mean, the other thing, I don't know if Sarah wants to speak to it, but I did speak with, and I have spoken with Rachel Roberts, who's one of our building inspectors and is also an architect. I think that I know some people like to check off boxes and say, look what we've done, but it's not effective that way. And I feel like if we're going to do this correctly, which again, I would like to just be part of the conversation. I don't know if that's too much to ask, but I think, are better ways to go about it. And even Rachel said exactly what I've been saying. When you just tell people you have to do this now, this is what you have to do. I want to bring people with us. We can adopt all of this, and the building code is going to be the hardest part. And if the building inspectors themselves are not educated about how to do it and the builders are not, then it doesn't matter. You can say, woo, look, we have this code that nobody knows how to implement. And that's a systemic problem that I've been talking with the state about and I've been attending webinars, trying to get trainings. There's a lot of steps that go into doing things effectively, or we can just check off a box. But there is, like I said, the fleet replacement plan is that's part of the zero emission vehicle first policy. And then the stretch energy code adoption is a bigger piece.
So your response speaks to the value and importance, Carol, of communication and collaboration. And I don't want us to get too into that now, just because we have another meeting coming in here in less than about 15 minutes. Appreciate your reaction to this. And it sounds like we're going to have this on another agenda item. So it'll be known in advance and prepare for it in advance. But yes, Nancy.
Yeah, I want to say, Carol, I'm thrilled to hear that you're interested in working and moving this forward. I know that I've talked with you about it in the past, as you say. And Laura, you mentioned that you met also with Carol. So I'm thrilled to hear that, and love to work with you on every possible aspect. And I guess we'd love to collaborate with you and see how we can be helpful. Does that sound, Laura, I don't want to speak for you, but.
Absolutely. I'm sorry for any of your hurt feelings, Carol. I did go to you first and
Well, we talked about it, and then anyway, I appreciate it. It just feels very awkward to sit at a table and not be acknowledged for all of and I know I'm never doing enough, and that's been a theme. And, you know, and again, we have achieved so many things in Greenfield.
Well, perhaps I've heard the wrong things from you, but I heard from you.
I have it in writing, and I've told you more than once.
I would encourage we not revisit this now.
Yep.
Obviously.
The building code is the big issue. That's it. And the training around it. That has not changed.
Obviously, there's some awkwardness about the situation, how it came up. We all are in alignment about wanting these goals. It's all in resonance with the master plan. So let's just get past this moment and have it on the agenda again, and we'll work together on it, I would suggest. But we do need to move on to get more that we can finish.
Is there's CDBG after this? Because
yes. Here. Yeah. So thank you, Laura. Yes. We'll look forward to reading the material.
No, I mean, we're a team on this. I'm doing what I can do from the city council.
Yeah. It sounds like being on the agenda in the future where we can really have an in-depth conversation. It sounds like there have been meetings that some of us don't know the content of. So potentially at the next meeting, maybe you could come again and we could have a more in-depth conversation of what the process really is, what the committee expectations are.
And we'll have read the materials.
Yes.
Be more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Great.
May I have one final word, please?
Sure.
I expect pretty much the energy department has taken the lead on many of the things that we've brought to the council in the past, and the council does need to vote on it, but it has been a collaborative process. And so that is the way I prefer to work. And we've always had a good relationship, or I have, with the council. And again, even though I knew it was coming, I really didn't expect it to be like this. And the fact that I've already completed like 5 of the 6 steps and explained the 6th without being, given the opportunity to explain. I think we're almost there. And the goal of mine is to get us off fossil fuel while we avoid all the climate change catastrophes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking for all of us.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep.
No,
We appreciate your work.
It's good to talk about all of this, and thank you so much, Laura.
Well, we recognize that you're a department of one, which is a lot.
So we have too many items to get through in the remainder of time available. I suggest we table some of them. The next item is interactive master plan, and this is program regarding proposed updated interactive version. If it's the update, it can't be put up yet. So I wonder if that's something.
It does include the update. It's just a representation of the original plan. It's what we looked at before. I just want the committee's okay to bring it to John.
And this is all nothing to do with the 2 new chapters.
Nothing to do with it. Eric liked it a lot, by the way, when I showed it to him.
So this is the original master plan in this format. Is it the Airtable?
Wait,
Sorry.
Amy's gonna. Yeah, it's the original master plan cut out into small pieces of the PDFs. And then on the right-hand side, the versions of the state.
Okay. I don't know if we need a vote. Do we want to vote or just no objection or?
What are we voting?
Are we bringing this to John,
John, who are you talking about, John? Say you're talking about
Communications Director?
Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan.
Right now, it's like, who's Jonathan? Okay, so is there any objection? Is this, we're rushed, so do we need to, can we make a rush decision or?
What
do
are we
hold up?
bringing to John?
To
Jonathan?
put on the website. He's the one.
Oh. What? Right? Great.
Does anybody on the committee need more time to consider this before accepting it or making a decision? Yeah, do it properly.
Same one
Sorry.
I went last time, more complete.
Great.
I think this is a great idea and we should send it to Jonathan.
Okay,
Second,
no objection.
sorry,
No. If
I don't feel.
you want to make a motion, let's make it. If not, we can
I
ascend.
don't think we need a
No,
motion. I
second.
think we can just say thumbs up. It's a good
Very
idea.
good. The next is Citizens Academy. I need to see the people on.
Yep, I'm
You guys, no
back. I'm moving.
objection up on the screen? Very good, thank you. Citizen Academy, possible SGIC participation in March Citizens Academy meeting. Specifically a 3-minute presentation of SGIC during the March Citizens Academy class. We have to decide that today, or is this?
Right.
I don't know who brought this.
Who put this on? the agenda?
Sarah and I were talking about it and just, I'm happy to go for 3 minutes and talk about the SGIC so that people who are in that class, see us as a viable way for the public to connect with what the town's up, the city's up to. Sarah, right?
Yep, I'm taking the class. I think this could be tabled to next meeting to get into it a little bit.
I have no idea personally what the March Citizens Academy is, so that would be helpful.
Great.
Thanks. Or the Citizens Academy. Thank you. Annual report, should we table this as well?
Yeah.
Any objection to that?
A reminder that we're on a fiscal year, so the annual report doesn't become a thing until June 30th.
Oh, that's right.
Nice. Thank you. Economic Development Plan Chapter Update. You have 2 minutes, Amy.
Oh, I can do it in 30 seconds. There is no update. I still have not yet found funding. The pot of funds at FERCog is not appropriate for this work. But I do have the cheaper options, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes. And then this next one, item 15, kind of we already had.
Yes, we have.
So I'm glad we had it on the agenda. This is the chapter update starter discussion about the chapter update goals, including whether and how the new master plan chapter update should reference and extend the original master plan. So we've already actually had it. So I'm glad this was on the agenda. I forgot that was on there
Yeah.
down below. Next is noise ordinance. Discussion of proposed noise ordinance being initiated by precinct 7 residents. I don't know who. Go ahead, please.
So I'm on precinct 7 and I spoke with Kate Broughton, who, brought this up to whichever committee they went to. And she was surprised that she wasn't invited to talk about it. So if we're going to postpone it, could we invite her or Mary to come and talk about what they proposed?
Did you say or Mary? Who's Mary?
Yeah, Mary, can't think of her last name, but it was Kate and Mary who went to that meeting.
So postpone this till next month.
Could we?
I mean,
I think that.
There you go.
and are we inviting her?
I was going to say, could we be clear on who's inviting? Because I think we did say last month we would invite, but I don't think anybody was tasked with making the invitation.
Understood. I'm happy to
I can
invite her.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
either
go
way.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, she and I are trying to meet with my GBA hat on, and I'm happy to invite her to this, or please feel free if you're in more frequent touch. She and I are trying to set up a time to meet still,
Okay.
so.
Okay. We have 8 minutes left. Since we only had
Are you
5
going to
minutes.
squeeze them?
I was gonna say, since we only had 5 minutes allotted for the Citizens Academy, can we knock that one off? Who was presenting that? Was that you and Sarah?
Me and Sarah, yeah. So
Can you say what it is?
This is Bram's idea. Sorry, I'm in the class, but
Oh.
yeah.
So the idea is that, Sarah, can you describe the people who are in the class now and maybe your sense of who that class was designed for, so we know who might be in a future Citizens Academy aside from the current cohort?
I think it's maybe 10, 15, 12, 15 folks attending, and there's 4 counselors attending. And just every week we learn from different departments. We heard from community economic development, and we went to the wastewater treatment plant and just fun things around town. And we also learned from Eric Tworog last week, and he talked a little about the sustainable master plan, but not in depth. So I think it would be great to revisit.
Yeah, so in my understanding of this, it's for new people who are kind of like new to city government. And since
It's for,
our
it's
job
for
is
anyone, Bram. It's for
it's for
citizens.
anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. But that our job as a committee is to keep the rest of the people in city government apprised of the master plan and integrating it. So it just seems like a really easy way for us to do our outreach work. And Sarah had asked Erin, who's organizing all this, what could happen, and she suggested this March meeting. So,
And this is offered by this city. I hadn't been clear on that.
It's
Yeah,
brand new.
Greenfield.
It's brand new. They just started it.
Very
The
good.
mayor's office is
And-
running it. This is the first time around. And
Thank
the
you.
meeting in March is specifically targeted at municipal committees and
Ah.
boards.
Okay.
Did you go yet? Nikki?
And is the, sorry. Is the 3-minute presentation, where did the 3-minute come from? Is that from the academy? Is it? Where
From
did it?
Erin, that's the amount of
Erin,
time. They're
okay.
trying to pack a lot into a small
Okay.
window.
I'd be supportive. I would like to see Hannah delegated to do that if you're available.
Absolutely.
Any other feedback?
Is there a date by any chance?
There is a schedule.
I can pull that up while we're here.
Great, I'll hold it.
Is there any objection to that? And people okay with Hannah representing the committee? All right, we did knock that out.
So
I-
you could reach out to Erin, I assume, and then that's how what logistics work?
Yeah,
Okay, because she's
Right.
handling the
everything.
agenda and stuff. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And I wanted to, okay, so I think that's it for agenda items. Next one is announcements and updates. There were no topics reasonably anticipated. I don't know if there's any last minute things that people didn't know about 48 hours ago, which I don't think would be an open meeting law violation, but, next meeting, as far as, agenda items, I wanted to bring up that in looking at the October minutes, we had tabled about student participation, and it didn't come back in November. We had talked about student participation in this committee.
Yep, I
As
think
non-voting
that
members.
Mike Boudreau was gonna reach out, either Mike or the Snow and Sons person was gonna reach out to student members of their committee, and then
Yeah.
we didn't get any names back.
So
Okay.
just wanted to suggest we consider that as a possible agenda item, depending on Mike's readiness
Okay.
to present it. And I wanted to suggest too that, because I know that people are understandably emailing Amy about agenda items, but, and it goes to everybody, I think, but I think, and maybe, I don't know if it has to come to the whole committee, because it's
Mhm.
basically you, Hannah, as chair,
Right.
figuring out and working in collaboration with Amy. So I would suggest suggestions about items, agenda items go to you and Amy.
Sure.
And then you can make executive decision about what can, because we don't want to have an overfull agenda where we can't, effectively work on these
Yeah.
different items. So prioritizing.
Yes,
So that's my.
I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, yeah. We got a little free form.
Oh, there you go. Sarah put up.
Thank you. Oh,
Nice. And the next meeting is Thursday, January 22nd, 4 PM, hybrid
5:30.
in this location, this room and Zoom. Uh,
One little thing I'd love to say.
A little thing.
Celebratory thing.
what thing?
Celebratory thing.
Uh-huh.
You know me, I'm always celebrating things. And Mike's not here today, so the composting in the high school has started as of the 8th of whatever. Yeah,
Very nice.
so
That's great.
very exciting. Long time coming.
Are we ready to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have to do a roll call. Aye.
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 I
Hi.
I
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care. You too, Carol. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks.